Amaram Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padana Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhamritam Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Sagalpatarubhyash Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Let me share my screen and the class from Maharaj. 1 second.
Boys being like that. So they were observing a service attitude that according to the language of Ramayana, shusha, a service attitude. Now they were ready to do whatever he wanted them to do, he would tell them. Until then, don't speak until spoken to. And so he smiled, acknowledged their character and their respect for him. And then he began to explain where they're going and what's next. And to ready themselves, because they were getting in the vicinity of where this demoness was, Sadhaka. So here's another little drawing that shows the same. Now, that principle is a principle that applies to us today. Here's a nice example. A nice example is one of Prabhupada's disciples pictured here. It's a photograph. Her name is Yamuna Dasi. Yamuna Dasi was a young girl until she became a devotee, and then she became a young woman, and then she became a mature woman. And you look at the intensity with which she's looking at Prabhupada. She became very dear to Prabhupada because of how the Guru Nishtha that she had. And one of the things that she did, among many things, she was a great singer. I'll tell you a little story. Something she told me. Because my service and her service were in two different realms. But once upon a time, we attended a japa retreat together. And so she just took the opportunity. She's very personal. She said, may I sit? I'm a sannyasi, and she's a lady. May I, I've heard of you, but we've never met. May I spend some time during our lunch? Sure. And she started describing her relationship with Prabhupada and some of her experiences with Prabhupada and with the devotees. And I said, I only know you from your record. She made recordings. She was angelic singer, it's like from the heavenly realm. Fantastic voice. And I said, that's how I know you. I don't know you so much other than that. Then she said that hit her little button, and she said, there was a time when there were 6 of us, these 6 young Western devotees, 3 couples, husband, wife, young, very young, like in their early 20s, young. They went to London to start a Hare Krishna temple in London. And lo and behold, many things happened, but they made acquaintance with George Harrison because at that time he was a celebrity, and he amongst the 4 Beatles was very interested in spirituality, particularly interested in Indian spirituality, and particularly interested in music and mantra meditation. So that was the in. They got to know him, and so forth. And what happened in course of time, Jamuna was expert at cooking, so they brought prasadam when the Beatles did recordings at certain times. They brought the refreshments. She was a good cook, not good, great cook. They really liked her cooking. Therefore, they really liked her. And she, in course of time, they had kirtan, like we have kirtan. But she sang so superlatively. She didn't use that language, but I know that she does. So George said, "You sing so wonderfully. If you like, I can make you famous. I know how to do it." If you like, I can make you famous. I know how to do it. And so she said to me, I said, "George, let me think about it." The next day she said, "No thanks. I don't want that lifestyle. I don't want to live a life of a celebrity and music star. No thanks." He said, "Very well, then let's do this. Let's make a recording in our recording studio." So they made a recording. On one side was Govindam prayers with Jamuna singing. The other side was the Hare Krishna mantra with Jamuna singing. And it became a number one, at that time it was 45 RPM, and it was the number one seller in all of Europe for the summer. She described like this. So she was really good at singing, and she was really good at cooking. Some of you may know. If you don't know, it's good to know. She published a cookbook that's like that thick. Jamuna Cookbook, it's called. And Prabhupada taught her everything, because she's just an American kid. And Prabhupada taught her everything. Here's another story she told me. Once Prabhupada asked her, there's a certain kind of rice that's very thin and very fine. See if you can find it. They were in India. So she found a place that had really thin, fine grain rice. Expensive. Not a certain kind of basmati rice. I can't remember the name. So she bought a bunch. She cooked it. Prabhupada took one grain, put it on the tip of his tongue, tasted it, and told her exactly the kind of rice it was. She was astonished. Prabhupada's senses were so refined. All of his senses, because they're under Krishna's control. Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam. So she was Prabhupada's cook. And at a certain point in time, she had to take on some other service. So her cooking service was transferred to somebody else. Those of you that have been around a while, you know who Giriraj Maharaj is. So Giriraj Maharaj wrote a letter to a female devotee asking Jamuna to write a letter to this female devotee who was going to become Prabhupada's cook in Bombay. Because Giriraj Maharaj was in charge of, like the president of the Bombay temple for some period of time. They had to change cooks. So Jamuna was to train the new cook how to cook for Prabhupada. So here we go. This is from that letter that Jamuna wrote. When you come to Bombay, you will have to be like the cook I was for Srila Prabhupada, bring the prasad for respecting and leave unspoken to. That was the norm. Unless he gave some instruction how to make adjustment in the cooking, or unless he made occasional comment. This is to speak when spoken to, and otherwise you just do service. Giriraj Swami asked me to instruct you, so I'm passing on this to you. It's a small aspect of classical teacher-apprentice mood. Serve in silence unless spoken to. While I never took a teacher mood with you, this is a rich rasa to explore on different levels. The point is, what Ram and Lakshman taught in relation to Vishwamitra Muni, it's still a principle. And Jamuna learned the principle. Jamuna passed the principle on to, I don't know who this other replacement cook was. But it's Maryada, or proper etiquette, being displayed by Ram and Lakshman. They also displayed proper etiquette towards the Bhagavatas. Bhagavatas means, in relation to Bhagavan, there's two. There's the book, Bhagavata, and there's the person, Bhagavata. So in Ramchandra's Leela, there's this situation where Lakshmana, and you see in the painting, Ram and Lakshman were brought by Hanuman, pictured here on the far right with his club next to him. He was sent by Sugriva, who's the king, but in seclusion up on Rishamukh Hill, and he wanted Hanuman, his minister, to go check out these two wearing ascetic garb, but carrying bows and arrows. Ascetics don't wear bows and arrows. Who are they? Is it friend or foe? Are they friend or foe? Go check it out. Hanuman brought them back. Friend. And so here they are, establishing friendship. Hanuman is watching. Sugriva, the king, the fellow with the crown, a Vanar, a monkey, warrior, king, he's shaking hands. They took vows of friendship with one another when they first met, right off the bat, because Sugriva trusted Hanuman's judgment and he's introducing them. On two occasions during his initial meetings with Sri Ram and Lakshman, Sugriva honored Sri Ram with a seat made of flowering branches of a shal tree. He plucked another branch for himself too. In both meetings, he failed to offer a seat to Lakshmana. Disrespect. Failure to offer to respect is disrespect. Hanuman quickly plucked branches and offered it to Lakshman respectfully. But there's consequences that came about as a result of this disrespect, which Ram overlooked because he accepted Sugriva's friendship, and that was the platform of their exchange. But even whether it's friendship, if there's a superior person who's your friend, you respect them. You show demonstrations of respect. Like, Western culture, offering a seat is not a formality. In Vedic culture, it's a formality. Someone comes, you offer a place to sit, some water, some kind words, 3 things. Just culture. Anyone knows that. From Vedic background, everyone knows that. Failure is disrespect, and there's consequences for disrespect. Sugriva met some consequences. And those 2 fellows behind him, that's Minda and Dvidvida, they both specifically, Dvidvida whispered in Sugriva's ear, pay attention to Ram, he's the one. Lakshman isn't so important. So the offense was to Lakshman. And there was consequences for Dvidvida that came later. A whole other story. And it can be said, it's rightly so, service to Bhagavan includes service to the Bhagavatas. Bhagavatas means those who are in relation to Bhagavan, or the devotees who are serving Bhagavan, they're Bhagavatas. And one might say, as far as Bhagavan is concerned, even greater than service to him is service to the devotee of Bhagavan. This is a Vaishnava principle. It's a Vaishnava etiquette. We serve the devotees, the Bhagavatas, because they're dear to Bhagavan. Prabhupada gives the example. It's a very good example. Love me, love my dog. He gives the example. Supposing you're walking in a park, you see a big man, Mr. So-and-so, big man. And you're a nobody, so you don't have the prerogative to just walk up to Mr. Big Man and say, "Hello, sir, how are you doing?" That's not so appropriate. But if he's walking his dog, you go pat his dog and scratch him under the chin, and you made a friend with the big man. It's a very simple example, and it's true. The approach of the big man is through those who are dear to the big man. His children or his dog or his, underlings. Those who are dependent upon him, respect them. And you've made friendship with the big man. Or Bhagavan, the biggest. Then there's another nice example in Ramayana, how to deal, how
Hare Krishna. I think we'll stop it here today. We'll take this example again tomorrow. Anyone who would like to share any reflection, any question? Hare Krishna, Sarvuri Mataji, please.
Hare Krishna Mataji. It was so nice to hear these stories. Whenever you pause, the feeling comes that it got paused. So, yeah, it's very nice. And particularly this line where to reach a big man, you can reach his dog first. The message being to reach Bhagavan, service to the Bhagavatas. It's a very beautiful message. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you, Mataji, for highlighting. Hare Krishna, Dandavata. Any other thoughts? Dear Lalit Prabhu, I don't need to record, right? Or should I? I forgot yesterday also.
No, Mataji, right at 6:30 I start.
Yeah, you started the live streaming, right? Okay, sure. Thank you. Thank you, Prabhu. Anyone else who would like to share?
I'd actually want to hear from everybody that there are principles which Maharaj spoke today, and I'd like to know if from the devotees here, are you able to follow it? Or number one, or number two, and if you're able to follow it, how are you doing it? Give some examples. That's number one. Number two, is it that you don't really appreciate it so far, or you just got to know some appreciation for these principles? I'd like to know about this from all of you, or if you have felt that in the past, there are some in the past you have not followed, and then later you realized, oh yeah, this is what I should have done. Maybe you can tell that. Anybody, any volunteers for that?
how to exhibit etiquette towards the.
I think I'll start, Prabhu. Then
Please do.
So I think I was very much aligned with what Maharaj was speaking, the principles, and I really feel exactly how it should be. I mean, There was no conflict or no argument going on, at least within me. Now, how to follow it, that is a different question. How much can we follow? That is again
How much is different? It's okay, but anything that you think this is what I can do to follow, maybe you can just express it so that others will also learn. One person learns
so.
from others.
So, I mean, everyone has probably different tendencies, Prabhu. But then, when I feel that even when I am actually doing something, so even for the normal, it actually comes in the nature itself. So probably we have to work upon our nature one by one, because we don't speak, or we don't remain quite deliberately. It just comes out spontaneously. It becomes the nature itself. So I have seen that sometimes I feel that I create problem to others because I really don't speak much while doing something. So I get engrossed. But then I feel that if someone who is working with me or someone else is there, so I'm offending or something like that. So in fact, reverse thoughts come within me. So that I'm not speaking or I'm not saying anything, or after like some necessary obligations after that. So that is one thing there I get some doubts. Well, like, this is good, but then what if someone else wants to speak? How we should handle that? That is probably one thing. And then respecting devotees of the God. I don't think so. As a principle, anybody will have the doubt in this principle. Everyone probably will follow. The question or the doubt only comes now whom to follow, or the person who are there in front of the person, whether we can respect them or not. So that is where all the questions arise, and that is when people try to fight with the principle also. No, no, this is wrong. Actually, it is not the fight with the principle. I suppose it's my personal level, everyone agree that this is the correct principle. But whether the person, the options what they have in front of them, if they can respect them, then they accept the principle. If they can't respect the persons in front of them, what choices they have, then they try to fight the principle itself. So that's what my thought process, Prabhu. And meanwhile, I see that there are hands raised by the Lalit Prabhu.
I'll just summarize what you said. There was one principle which Maharaj spoke about from Yamuna Mataji: serve in silence unless spoken to. And you told the opposite of it, saying when you try to follow this, you have an apprehension that others would misunderstand you if you don't speak. Now, that is number one. Number two, the etiquette towards Bhagavatas. Maharaj said, if quoting Prabhupada, if you love me, you love my dog, which is the devotees. And you are understanding the love my dog as devotees. And you are saying you would like to love and serve and respect the devotee. It's easier to do somebody who's not in close proximity, whereas with somebody in close proximity, many questions do arise. Did I get your uh, statements summarized
Those who
correctly?
Um, Yes, I mean, and this and the second question was basically that principle wise, like I want to approach that big person, but then the dog who is there, whether I want to approach that dog or not, that is where I will
Uh,
doubt the principle itself.
hmm. you, you don't want to approach the Bhagavata, the servant of the servant. You want to approach the servant directly, the servant of God.
No,
That's
no,
it.
I'm not saying I want to approach or not. I'm saying that the someone can question the principle itself if they don't want to approach.
Hmm. Hmm.
Someone who is ready to
No,
approach
no,
will accept.
I'm not speaking here about someone. I'm speaking
Okay,
about you. So forget
I really
generalizations.
accept the principle. Yeah.
But
So for
okay.
me, I really accept the principle, and I feel that is the only way. There is no other way.
Okay. Okay. Yes, others can. You can call for others. Mataji.
Dear Lalit Prabhu, I saw your hand first.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
So regarding this principle of silence, I think I observed it very much when His Holiness Rupa Swami Maharaj is in Bangalore always. I see that, uh, especially when he's there in the house of Shamkund Prabhu, or even while he's taking class. Let's take the example of he's in the house of Shamkund Prabhu, and we see that, okay, devotees maintain a lot of silence, even while interaction with him also, while serving prasad and everything. He need isolation. He needs silence. In the beginning, I used to find it very unnatural. I think this is not normal. People should talk, chit chat. Why it is like this? And then I used to think, okay, we are unnecessary, putting all this silence. Maybe Maharaj, he wants to talk, but since we are keeping quiet, he's also keeping quiet. You know, like there is one of the offense in this 10 offenses. We say that thinking their own spiritual master at your own level, thinking that he's a mundane person. So that the offense which actually I did unknowingly. So that why it is like that. But then now I'm just going through this principle of silence and how Lord Ramachandra and Lakshmanji they demonstrated. So I found, okay, no, this is what it should be. This is what actually they want, and we have to follow that way. So that was something which I learned it today. One question or mm, there is one thing which, like, this is, I find it is still gross. Okay, observing silence when he's in my, if I'm in his presence, Maharaj's presence or spiritual master's presence, then okay, I'm quite myself. But it has to, I think that there will be some subtle or deeper meaning also, which I need to introspect and think. What does it mean in my now I'm working, Maharaj is not there, or I'm not there with Maharaj physically. He is somewhere and I'm here in Bangalore. So then what is the meaning of this silence now in this context when I'm in Bangalore working for some company and taking care of family life, etc. So that I need to think, I think how next I can take it, this particular principle. That's it. I just thought to share with you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Sonali Mataji, you have raised your hands.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Hare Krishna. It was a little high level what the discussion is going on, so I couldn't understand much. Like what Mataji you said, and then Shankun Prabhu commented. So I couldn't understand that much, but still, for myself, it's not in my nature to respect everyone. So there is a huge respect for the devotees like Shampun Prabhu and all the devotees. But one thing which I want to do, or like what the practicing, like I want to remind myself always. So whoever I'm meeting with, or whoever like considering the kids or all the kids or everybody, those who I meet, I I want to remind myself that I want to respect this person who is next to me. So this is what I like from all the lectures what I'm hearing, and yeah, so that's what I wanted to share.
Thank you, Mataji. So you are on the right path. Shamkun Prabhu can say more, but then I think that is when we progress.
But it is difficult.
Yeah, that is. I, I mean, tell me if during nursery 2 plus 2 is equal to 4 was not difficult for us. So I think, but yeah, I think Kamran Prabhu can say more.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Ji. Dhanavad Prabhu.
Hare
So, Ji,
Krishna.
yeah, to your question, Prabhu, like, what have we been following? So, one is from young age, I used to observe my mother offering respect, which Maharaj mentioned that some kind words, a place to sit and water. So, this I couldn't understand when I was young. But after getting into Krishna consciousness, hearing Srila Prabhupada's lectures, reading books, now Maharaj mentioning the same thing. So, I can sort of resonate with that, Prabhu, and this is something which I try to do. To offer these things to at least these three bare minimum things to somebody who comes home. So that is one, Prabhu. And another thing is, I really appreciated the way Maharaj sort of relished that example, simple example of the big man and his dog, wherein the analogy of the Lord and his devotees. So it looked or it seemed like Maharaj, even after you are probably having heard this example multiple times, he still felt that this example was so perfect to drive home the point of giving this particular analogy to us. So that part I liked, and it's a very apt example, Prabhu. So that's another thing. And one more thing is, Prabhu, this is one thing which would definitely require a lot of improvement, and relating to what Sugriva did. So he, in a couple of places, which Maharaj just mentioned, that he offered respect, rather he offered a seat for Lord Ram to sit, whereas he sort of ignored Lakshmana. So this is something which we see in our nation. So I particularly see that it's not that we have the time or bandwidth to offer or extend the respect to all the devotees. It's only to a few of them where we particularly offer the respect, and others it's not intentionally that we don't offer. But Maharaj mentioned that not offering respect is disrespect, and it's not practical to offer respect to all of them, Prabhu. So how do we reconcile this, Prabhu? So please help. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu, for sharing.
Thank you. So, effectively, there are two questions. One is by Deeralit Prabhu. What does it mean to serve in silence? And one is by you. We don't have the time and bandwidth to serve all devotees. How to reconcile? Did I capture your question right, Deeralit Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu. Like in day-to-day life, I'm not with Maharaj, let's say.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm working here and there. So how does that principle apply to?
In a day-to-day life. Yeah, fine. Okay. Any devotee here who wants to respond, especially somebody who hasn't spoken in a long time? Rajeshwari Pran, if you are there, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I am here but not very attentive. I'm just cooking and hearing.
Did you hear the questions, the two questions that I summarized?
Not much, Prabhu. Vivek Prabhu's question I heard. What was the Deelal Prabhu's question?
There is a principle of serving in silence unless spoken to. How to apply it in our daily life?
Maybe others can pinch in, Prabhu. I'll just give some thoughts on this line.
Okay.
I'll add something.
Sure. Who else? Anybody else would like to volunteer to answer these two questions? Chandan Prabhu? Chandan Prabhu, you're there? No, you're not there. Okay. Harisham Prabhu, if you want to answer.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, you're there. Oh, please.
Yeah, please go ahead, Prabhu.
Okay. Yes, Harisham Prabhu, you have some thoughts?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Yeah, not exactly related to this question, but just something which, based on today's class, one thing is serving in silence is also means other aspect of like only we speak only if we are spoken to, or like so other aspect is be precise and concise in our speech as well. It's just not about dumping everything, whatever that comes in the mind when you speak to like higher authority, not authorities, like when you speak to a spiritual master or advanced Vaishnava, we respect their time as well. One of the things, at least in the corporate world or something like that, what we deal with is like, okay, we get an opportunity to meet with senior management people. One of the principles you have to follow is like, the conversation cannot be just like what we have among the peers, right? It has to be very precise, concise, and by respecting their time. So it's very important that we process properly and then we express what we have processed. Um, Having a good vocabulary is also very important so that we can express it in a short period of time or with all the relevant details. Most of the times, what at least personally for me and I've seen others do it is, okay, we give too much details and we know like some of the details is not required at all. Like it is just like writing a novel, like expressing all background details, and so sometimes it's just not required at all. So when we speak to Hare Krishna, when you speak one aspect, I understand what is serving in silence also means, okay, have a good thought process it and concisely express or speak. That's one thing that comes to me, because when I talk to senior management people, I understand like sometimes like if I speak more than what is required, they cut me off saying, okay, they understand what they say. Okay. They kind of they immediately say, oh, we understand. So I need to stop there and then go to the next one. So this is something like serving in silence also means, okay, it cannot be blah, blah things. We have to be very precise with what we say. That one aspect, I would say. Another thing is like so many things which is not explicitly spoken here, like but which gets actually like in some cases for us, like it is like Yamuna Mataji, she was explicitly passing it down, but in many cases it's just observed and then we learn from it. Just even when we read Ramayana, okay, we could gloss over these details of like Ramachandra spoke only when he was asked to speak. We just gloss over it. But on the other hand, okay, even Nityananda Prabhu, he expressed, okay, sometimes when he drives Maharaj for 4 hours, 8 hours on a long drive or to another place, sometimes Maharaj would not speak at all, and he won't also start any conversation. He will speak only when Maharaj asks something to him. And sometimes he would say, okay, he would speak for the entire duration of the trip when he drives. But the moment Maharaj gets out of the car, and then that's it. Okay, if Maharaj starts speaking to him, he will not speak, he will not, okay, try to be more familiar with him or anything like that. His service is done and he just goes away. It's something like for us at least, like for me at least, like okay, these things helps. Okay, a devotee goes through it. If I'm not that shrewd enough to observe and do it, these kinds of explicit instructions helps. But a lot of times, okay, when we read shastras, okay, we need to see these very subtle points, even in scriptures, and how we can observe it and then try to practice as well. Those are some points from Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes.
Prabhu, I'm doing multitasking, but just little quickly on Dirlilta Prabhu's point. So when Maharaj is far away, if we have to work in silence, it means that we have to do our work for Krishna, and unnecessary talking will divert our thoughts from Krishna. So whatever cooking or we are doing for the deities, so it is better to keep our concentration on the deities, think about them and serve them. Maybe I can elaborate later, but right now that's it.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you. 7:10. So maybe I'll start with I had some points, but let's see. Trying to put a sharp cut of 7:15, Shweta Mataji. Or we can stop here and we can discuss the questions tomorrow too. What do you say?
Whatever you suggest, Prabhu.
So maybe I'll just do one with Vivek Prabhu's thing here. If we do not have the time and bandwidth to respect all devotees, very understandable. And however, respecting everybody is an art which is learned. But that art is learned when one begins to learn to have affectionate dealings with a few devotees. Note that I just changed the word from respect to affection. As long as we use the word respect, it will be forced. It will not, it will seem like it is an imposition on us. But because of that imposition, we would never feel like I'm getting any benefit out of it. And this is the reason why many world religions, they fail to attract a younger crowd or the more thoughtful crowd, because it is all about respect, but there is nothing touching the heart. A religion which has just rules and rules and rules alienates newcomers and alienates the young and the curious. So that's why for respect there has to be an affection component too. Now the question that arises is, how can I be affectionate to somebody whom I don't know? uh, Maybe I can start with respect, and as I get to know a person I can build up affection. But the methodology is actually a little different. We first and foremost try to build relationship of affection and respect together, that is honor as such. Knowing that there's other persons of value, so we try to build this with a few persons, ideally devotees. Maybe a guru, may not be a guru from a Diksha guru perspective. That's the first thing we do. And that ties in to this teacher apprentice model which Yamuna Mataji was speaking about. We learn as an apprentice. When we learn as an apprentice, the ways of the heart, which is affection, and the ways of the body and the mind, which is more at the respect level, when we learn these two from one or few such persons in our lives, then we can gradually go to others. It does. So, for example, when we meet somebody very genuinely, we can even just say Hare Krishna, and the respect that we could offer would just be bending the leg, bending the head, and just taking our palms forward together in a to show our prostrations. We may be walking, but that one act of prostrated palms, a head that bends, a smile on the face, that itself is a big respect. Or sometimes when a devotee is in distress, or anybody is in distress or needing help, just going and doing the needful, inquiring about them, and not saying, why did you do this mistake, why did you do that mistake, because of that you are in this position here. It's respecting that they took some choices in their life and they are bravely facing the consequences of it. They're not running away from those consequences, and here you are being of whatever help that they want. Sometimes the help is could be monetary. Sometimes the help is in the form of just knowing that I have not let you go, something like that. Different people, different things. So that's also respect. uh, res- Respecting the choices which people make, etc. So definitely we do not have the time and bandwidth for all, but most important, if for we have to identify certain primary relationships. If we do not make time for our primary relationships, we will we will stagnate in our spiritual life, and instead of progress, we can even regress in our spiritual life. Why? Because if you go, I think, from the Upanishadic statement, Tat Tvam Asi, you are that. What does that Tat mean? Jiva Goswami says that the word Tat in Tattvam Asi, that word Tat actually means love. So it actually goes to say, I mean, he goes in a very big elaborated way in various ways, places he does it. He elaborates a little in some places, but without quoting it, he elaborates it in other places, that this nature of God is that of love. And we are part and parcel of that God. And therefore, when we do not connect to that loving propensity, we will be like fish out of water. We are this tatastha shakti, we are this marginal state. Why? Because we are not connecting to that tat, that love, that affection. It has to be done, and the way it is done is this teacher apprentice mode. For those of us who are uh, who have whatever resources we have in our life, that's how we do. We are an apprentice to a teacher, and we have to be humble enough to be an apprentice. Yeah. Does that help at all, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu. Thanks a lot, Prabhu. We'll try to follow that.
Okay. Shweta Mataji at 7:16. I think they'll pose a question, and you have one question of yours, which will be mostly answered tomorrow a little bit by Maharaj himself.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay.
sure, Prabhu.
Thank you.
We'll let.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Hare Krishna.